everyone, welcome into another episode of the Boys and Girls Show here on Chat Sports. You can go ahead and subscribe and follow us here on www.youtube.com/Cowboys TV. Bobby, you and I are watching these games with Trevon Diggs this year, and I got to tell you, last year, it was really a baptism by fire. In other words, they had to put him in there to account for some injuries, and he got burned at times, and then he got injured.
Yep.
But it was meaningful experience for him. This year, what he's doing is nothing short of amazing. When I think of the talent that he's gone against in terms of wide receivers, guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Devontae Smith, it's what stands out to me is his tenacity. And, you know, we kept talking about he's had an interception every game. He's had 2 pick sixes. Now, he's tied with his brother, Trevon Diggs, the Buffalo Bills, 4 touchdowns this season.
Yep.
When it was going to happen in this Patriots game, and I'll be damned if it didn't happen at the moment that they needed him at the end of the game. Now, then again, he turns around and gets burned on the next play.
A little bit, yeah.
But even what I love about him is his accountability, how he let his foot off the gas a little bit. Him and
Demonte
KZ allowed that guy just get up there in the middle between them for that 75-yard touchdown run. But again, it's his accountability. It's his want to be better. And other people are catching on. I love how the NFL Network, who pays my bills each month, literally had the account bio read, "This account has been intercepted by Trevon Diggs." It's fun to watch him right now. And what's even more fun is the way that he brings this team together with some of these big plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's a big catalyst emotionally for them, and I think that he provides a lot of energy with, the big plays that he makes and some of the things that he does. He's been absolutely incredible. With his interception, the Cowboys now have 11 on this season through 6 weeks. That's the first time in 7 years. 2014 was the last time they had more than 10 interceptions in a season. And it's already through week 6, and he's got 7. And so he's been such a big-time playmaker for them. His interceptions, he's scoring off of them. He's setting up scores. He's ending drives. He's making such big plays for them. That, to me, it's clear that he's in this conversation for MVP. I think Defensive Player of the Year is already done. You look at, he's the first player, we had it up there, he's the first player since Rod Woodson to have 7 interceptions through the first 6 games. Rod Woodson, the Hall of Famer, the multi-time Pro Bowler, and Rod Woodson did that in 1993, and he won Defensive Player of the Year in 93. So I think Defensive Player of the Year is pretty much a lock at this point. Now it's a question of, is he somebody that is making enough of a difference on that side of the ball and showing he has enough value for one of the top contenders that he's in this conversation of being the most valuable player in the league?
Well, I think what stands out to me is, okay, so we're talking about his 7 interceptions through 6 games this year. In 2019, the entire defensive side of the ball only saw 7 interceptions collectively. And for me, it's not just the interceptions. It's what we were just talking about. It's the catalyst for change. It's the spark. It's when they need him the most, he comes up with the ball. And I think that's what stands out to me about, now, look, Dak Prescott is a real game changer. If you had Andy Dalton under center, I don't think that this team would be as good as they are this year. I mean,
No.
Andy Dalton doesn't make that throw at the end of the game to CeeDee Lamb to seal this on their first possession in overtime. But I just think what this team has needed was, I had argued, just a middle-of-the-pack defense. And they are statistically when you look at them. But for me, it's not just the numbers that stand out. Like I said, it's the big plays and the moments that count. And the fact that the league as a whole is now catching on to what Diggs is doing here in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, you want to say this is not sustainable. And a lot of people have said, there's no way he gets another interception. This is 3 weeks in a row where I think most people have said, the streak ends today. No way he gets another pick. And then he gets another one. And the thing that's interesting to me,
because they keep throwing to him.
Yeah, I mean, they do keep throwing at him. And that's sort of the Diggs Diggs taketh away sort of factor. That, he will occasionally, he's a gambler. He'll get beat a little bit. I think it's been way oversold how frequently he gets beat. I don't think it happens nearly as often as some people are claiming. That people have made comparisons on social media I've seen to Diggs is basically having the cornerback equivalent of Jameis Winston's 30 touchdown, 30 interception season, and I don't think that's accurate at all.
That is such an odd comparison.
I think that is a disservice to how well Trevon Diggs covers. I think he's very good at it, and he is a gambler who will bite on things sometimes and get beat a little bit. But, he had 3 picks as a rookie, but he dropped 4 of them. You remember that was a discussion point a lot of the first part of the season was, when is Diggs going to get his hands on one of these? When is he going to finish it? He keeps dropping them. And so, this is somebody who very easily could have had 7 interceptions last year. He's had 2, I think, this year that he's dropped. I think this is, as wild as it sounds, I think this is just who he is as a player. I think it is sustainable. I don't know that...
And just remember last season how every time you're like, gosh, he was so close. Mm-hmm. It was right there. And he told us that the one thing that he focused on this offseason was anytime he can get the opportunity to play catch, and maybe he's doing that with Aiden around the house a lot, his son, the star of Hard Knocks, whatever he's doing is paying off.
Yeah, and like I said, he's finishing these catches, and he's not just finishing these catches; he's getting big returns, and that's the thing. He's 8 interceptions away from the NFL record, which is from 1952 Dick Night Train Lane, and it was 14 picks. That interception record has stood for so long. Nobody's even gotten double-digit interceptions since, I believe, Everson Walls did it in 1981. And so, you're looking at something that he's doing that is just unparalleled, unprecedented in this era of the NFL. And so, I think that's enough of a oddity. It's enough of a unique thing that he's doing, and a thing of real value that he's doing, that it does deserve to be in this topic.
Well, and when I look at the schedule, you're telling me he's not going to get a pick off the Vikings? I could see that.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
You're telling me he's not going to do that against the Broncos or the Falcons? The Chiefs might be a little trickier.
Mahomes has been throwing some picks, though, this year. He's going to go up against Jameis Winston,
Saints,
Mr. 30 interception season.
I'm 100% giving him one there. We're looking at the one. He's going to go back up against the Giants. Cardinals are going to be tricky, but I can at least find at least 4 more picks in the rest of the schedule this year.
Nobody would have thought he'd have 7 through 6. Or 10 interceptions through his last 11 games. He's been absurd.
If he can pick up Justin Herbert and he can pick off Tom Brady, you're telling me he can't off
Get
the
Taylor
rest
Heineke.
of these?
Get Daniel Jones.
You're telling me he can't Teddy Bridgewater, Kirk Cousins?
He is somebody that I think, like I said, it's very special what he's doing.
But I think what people have to focus on is it's not so much that it's just this special raw ability, it's his preparation.
Yes.
This guy, for me, is a lot like Sean Lee once was. Sean Lee studied so much tape. He knew people's tendencies. He was, to me, the most proactive player on that side of the ball for a long time. His body just failed him. That's what, if you could put Sean Lee's preparation and heart into a Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons might get there. He's there. He's young.
Yeah,
and you're asking him to do a lot of things.
Really well.
But I think what stands out to me is that Trevon's mentality, his approach to the game is very Sean Lee-esque.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And, even on the interception he had against the Patriots, he talked about, I'd seen that route on film a ton. That's the route they love to throw. And I think that, it's we talk about this question of is he in the MVP conversation. We can turn that over to you guys as well. Which do you think? He's clearly the defensive player of the year, I think, at this point. The only guy who was kind of, in the conversation with him, I think, was Myles Garrett. But at this point, I think you'd be crazy not to say that Diggs is the favorite. And so is he in the MVP discussion, which a cornerback has never won it. In fact, in the entire history of the MVP award, only 2 corners have ever gotten votes. Willie Davis of the Packers in 66, Deion Sanders with the 49ers in 94. And so it would be unique, but it's also unique to get as many interceptions as he does. And so what do you think? Is he in the discussion for MVP, type M for MVP? If you just think he's Defensive Player of the Year, type D for DPOY.
And while you are down there in the comments telling us how much you love these Cowboys or hate this show, look, we're, like I said, open to constructive criticism. Go ahead.
I hate me too, for what it's worth.
And hit that like button, subscribe, youtube.com/Cowboys TV. All right. Where can Dallas improve? Like I said, we're all for constructive criticism around here. If you listen to the guys, specifically Ezekiel Elliott, has really stood out as more of a vocal leader this year. His big thing is they keep leaving the door open for opponents, and we certainly saw that against the Patriots the other night. What are some of the little things that they can do to improve and separate themselves among the contenders right now?
I think that, and again, this is a positive. You are one of the, probably 5 teams that can realistically say you're contending for a Super Bowl this year. Dallas is that good. But when it comes to these, upper echelon teams, it's usually the little things, the little weaknesses that each of them have that ultimately does them in. It's whoever polishes up their weaknesses the best heading in down the stretch. And so Dallas will have some things that, you'd like to tighten up to separate yourself from Buffalo, to separate yourself from Tampa Bay. I think they're still giving up a lot of the chunk plays. You still see that 75-yard touchdown to the Patriots. You see them letting teams back into it, like the Panthers. Going for the kill shot a little bit, I guess, would be one of the things that they could improve on. Seeing them, tighten up a little bit in the second half and the fourth quarter, not give up so many passing yards. They are still 30th in the NFL in passing yards allowed. But, they're getting those turnovers. They're doing a lot well. It's tough to pick on much. But I think on the defense, you'd like to see them minimize some of the big plays, tackle a little bit better. At times they've had issues with tackling. They don't have the same issues with pursuit and being out of position that they did last year. It's just wrapping up and finishing plays. And then I think when you look at the head coach and you look at the special teams coordinator and some of the in-game decisions they've made, those
Bones is feeling himself after that blocked punt.
He is. Those in-game decisions are going to be so key, especially in tight ball games in the playoffs, potentially on the road. And so I think in-game decisions are going to be a big part of this and just limiting a lot of these bigger plays that they're giving up.
Yeah, and I think that's what stands out to me is about what makes this team special this year. We're getting ticky-tacky now as it relates to what can this team do better, because it's not like they've had an easy schedule this year. It's hard not to. I know that the Cowboys hype train, choo-choo, is full speed ahead. And look, as it should be at this point. This offense is averaging 39 points a game, which is incredible.
Yeah, over the last 5.
You've got your defense is playing middle of the pack, but creating turnovers and winning points differential, things along those lines, things they weren't doing last year. And you've got the buy-in. I mean, I don't think that I've seen these guys this excited or this confident. It's a quiet confidence since that 2016 season. And I've covered a lot of iterations of this team going back to 2004, then again from 2011 to 2015, and then or 2014, and then back in 2016. This team feels very different. And I do a bunch of podcasts during the week, and one of them is the Cowboys. It's called the Media Mash. And so it's Steve Dennis, if you're familiar. I used to work at CBS 11, a bit of a contrarian. John Machota, he works for The Athletic. Rob Phillips works for the Cowboys. And Steve took a particular exception with Amari Cooper talking about a Super Bowl, not guaranteeing it, but saying that if they could just clean up some of these little things, that they could win a Super Bowl. And Steve said, you can't say it. It's triggering. I said, no. What I love about this group, and maybe it goes back to that the mental coach that they have during the week. I'm a big fan of manifestation. I've said that if you follow me and you've listened to me talk about this over the years, big vision board fan. When I first started interviewing Dak Prescott back his rookie season at training camp, he told me he was a fan of manifestation. In other words, what comes out of your mouth comes into your life. And these guys, especially Amari Cooper, who's been on winning teams like Alabama, they all feel it. This isn't an aberration. This doesn't feel like they're just on a run. It feels like they feel it in the locker room. And might I add, this work goes all the way back to the offseason when guys like Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins said that Dak Prescott was out working them in rehab, and that made them want to come back and be special and rehab. And all these guys are doing just the little things that were missing last year. And that, to me, is what really stands out for me about this team.
Yeah, it's a big benefit. It's a completely different culture. It's a completely different group of players. Even the ones who are back this year, they're different people. And I think that I don't have a problem with Amari talking like that, because I think there's a difference between, you don't want to jinx it, or you don't want to, come off too cocky, and just being realistic about the situation. And I think Amari, if there's anybody in that locker room who is 100% honest about his assessment of the team and himself and everything else, it's Amari Cooper. And so I think you can take that as a realistic assessment of the team when Amari Cooper says that. Amari Cooper's not going to say they can contend for a Super Bowl if he doesn't believe that.
This is the same guy who said that they were capable of 3,000 passing yards between the 3 wide receivers last year, and with 4 different quarterbacks, damn near did it. Let's talk about this Cowboys offense, though. This year, it has been, we knew that they had a lot of firepower, but look at this. Total yards per game. They're putting up close to 500 yards per game. Number 1 in the league. Passing yards per game, number 5. Rushing yards per game. I think the one thing that stands out to me is we've seen that needle move. You know, that was something that became stagnant for them last year. The points per game, 34.2, and turnovers, 7, tied for 14th. What is going to stop them, especially when you look at this schedule moving ahead?
Themselves.
I mean, is there a defense that really stands out for you that's...
No, it's themselves. It's you get 12 penalties, you turn over the ball in the red zone, you have game management issues. It's going to be themselves, honestly. I think when they play their best ball, they can hang with anybody in this league.
I mean, isn't that what could be said for a lot of teams, though?
No, I don't think you can say that on their very best day. Most teams can hang with anybody, and I think you can genuinely. You couldn't say that about Dallas last year.
Absolutely not.
I think on just if they put out their best game, if they play the way they're capable of, they can beat anybody.
All right. Well, I am looking forward to a little bit of rest and relaxation this week, and then we turn it up. Like I said, it's going to be an intriguing schedule moving forward. Albeit a lot of these teams, I think the toughest part of this schedule has already taken place this year, but you don't want to get ahead of yourself. Hopefully these guys take the time for some mental and physical rehabilitation, and most importantly, that Dak Prescott and that right calf strain doesn't prove to be a problem, that we can remain in the Jerry Jones world of optimism, and that we will see him dressed out in Minnesota against the Vikings. Until then, we appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, do us a favor. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter. There I am, at Slater NFL. And my man, Bobby Belt, at Bobby Belt TX. Always good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, too.
See you after the break.